All right, I believe we are live. Let's give it 1 second here. Yep, we are good. So tonight we are joined by Richie Hustles, big content creator, RA guy. I've been following Richie for pretty much ever since I started 2 years. Fun fact: I didn't even have Keepa before I started following this man, so he definitely had a big impact on my reselling journey. I'm excited to have him here tonight to share a story, drop some knowledge, and answer any questions that you guys have. Richie, how you doing?
My reselling journey?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good. Yourself?
I'm doing great, man. If you
Awesome.
want to start off, just kind of give us your background. Who is Richie Hustles, and like what led you to selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so a little funny story. Back in the day, from like the age of 17 up until like my late 20s, I used to DJ and I used to go by Richie Play. So I've always wanted this. If I was going to do YouTube or if I was going to kind of be on social media, I always wanted to have this other name. I never wanted to use my real name because I felt like real names were boring and it didn't match my personality. So then I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to be doing right now? Like if I do this whole third party marketplace kind of thing, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm hustling. I was like, all right, we'll go with Richie Hustles. So we started up on Instagram and all that good stuff. At the time, I worked for Bank of America as a bank manager in Boston, Massachusetts. And six-figure salary, all that good stuff. I worked in the banking industry for about 10, 11 years, working at multiple big banks, Citibank, TD Bank, Citizens Bank, all New England banks, some regional banks. And ended up at Bank of America for the last 5 years. And the location I was in was on a street called Cambridge Street, which is right by the Massachusetts General Hospital. And my commute there, at the time, I lived about 45 minutes away, so it was like a 4-hour commute ride, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. It was an hour to drive to the train station and then an hour on the train each way. So during that time, I've gone through about 2, 3, 4 different managers or bosses with Bank of America. And then the last one I had, I really did not like. So then it kind of turned my whole persona into like, do I want to be in the banking industry anymore? Like this one manager destroyed 10 years of working in the banking industry. And that's partly my fault, right? Because I let somebody do that. But in the same way, she almost helped me become what I do and what I am today. So, during those commuting hours, I would look for ways on how can I make extra money? How can I like get out of this job? And, I tell my wife and I tell other people, I'm like, sometimes I feel like it would have been easier if I had nothing and then build something than to have something and then you have to replace that something, because I feel like you almost have to work twice as hard. I started with $8. I started watching other resellers and they were selling used books and they were going to libraries. And I was like, dude, there's no way these people are making money. I mean, for instance, like Reezy Resells was one of the top ones, which is probably a common thing with a lot of us resellers. At the time he was cranking out content about books and Marshalls and all this stuff. And I'm like, he's got a kid, he's got a wife. This is what he does full time. There's got to be something else to this. There's no way he's just doing this. And then one day on lunch break, I took $20. I went to the library. I spent $8 out of the 20, bought some books, sold it, turned that $8 into 50. I think the exact amount was like $47. And just kind of saw that and I was like, all right, made $50, whatever. Maybe I got lucky. Maybe I just picked some good books. Took that 50. Spent that 50, got more books from the same library. This was like an old school Boston library, full of old books, new books, just all types of books. Boston was a great place for literature and books and to get inventory like that. Turned 50 into 150, 150 into 300, 300 into 800. It was just like a constant snowball effect. So that was kind of just like the start of it.
That's awesome. It's crazy how like when you're focusing on high ROI items like those books, how quickly your capital can snowfall. Like you started with $8 and then grew that. I don't know if like you put in more capital eventually, but being able to turn that into something that's a full-time business is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you said if you're able to, put more capital into it. There came a point where I was making $1,000 on a pay period, and then Amazon was holding the money, and all I kept wanting to do was buy. And I couldn't, and I didn't know if I wanted to use my savings account because now I'd only been selling for like, 6 months, 6, 8 months, maybe even 10 months. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do for this? And I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. That's when I started to say I need to create income. If I don't want to use the income I have, if I'm nervous or scared, like anybody might be, maybe somebody's not, but I was. I at the time I had a family, kid at home, and you get health insurance with your job, and you're so conditioned in this mindset of, if I lose this, I lose everything, right? So part of that was educating myself, but eventually kind of made the leap.
Yeah. So at what point did you start going into like more traditional retail stores and not focusing on books so much?
Probably when I hit my first 1,000, because I told myself as I was selling, and I said, not when I hit 950, like when I hit $1,000, like in my account, not like sales. We're talking $1,000 profit coming back to me. Once I did that, I was going to take only 100, because now this was another thing I had to learn. Because now when I sold books, I wasn't using Keepa. When I sold books, I was simply just going by sales rank, because I was buying so much books that I was going to library sales. My old Instagram has pictures of like 35, grocery bags coming out of my truck, filling up my garage, stacking double layers up. It was so cheap, $5 a bag. You know what I mean? It was like I didn't even want to use Keepa. I'm just gonna, if it looks good, I'm just gonna buy it, take my chance. We're just gonna grab a ton of it. But once I started going into retail arbitrage, I said, I only want to take $100 because what if this product doesn't sell? I have to relearn different categories with sales rank, because not all sales rank is created equal. Just because one's 10,000 in one category doesn't mean 10,000 is good in another category. It's a whole other set of rules that I had to learn. So I was kind of nervous. Started with $100 with like literally $1 or $2 items in the clearance aisle. Once I realized, hey, there's not really much to choose from the $1 and $2 that's going to really scale me up, that's when I kind of just had to jump in and say, okay, I'm going to use like $500. I'm going to use $500. I'm going to go buy and just kind of learn this whole Keepa thing. I'm going to learn about sales rank, and I would just watch videos. I had so much time. I would literally have on my car, I would have a cell phone holder, and I would just put the phone there. I wouldn't listen to radio, talk radio, nothing. It was always a YouTube video on something I wanted to learn about, literally for like every single day that I would commute. So I was constantly learning from different resellers, because different resellers did it differently too. And that's something I think is so important, that's really overlooked. We always say like, hey, you could watch YouTube videos, check out like this reseller over here, but like check out 10 resellers, because everybody does things a little differently, and you might gravitate towards one, but that person you gravitate might not exactly do it the either correct way or the way that you thought. So like you kind of got to get like a mesh of what everybody's doing and kind of just go with it. That's what I did anyway.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good points there. I want to reiterate, like, take knowledge from different sources. I'll give you an example. Richie Hustles, you got me into like Dollar Tree a lot, and doing RA heavy. But one thing you'd never really liked was Kohl's. But this other content creator, Nate Jackson, he had a whole Kohl's course that showed me how I could go in for a pair of pants, for example, that might be 44 retail, but I could stack all these different coupons and buy it for $5. So like if I was just following Richie, I wouldn't have got that. And then, like if I was just following like Reezy or someone, I might have only been learning about books. So it's important to be taking in knowledge from a bunch of different people. And then also you talked about rank and how it's different for every category. That's why it's so important to not just look at that rank data. Like you need to be using Keepa. You really, really do. And then my last question was, you said when you were doing books, you weren't really looking at Keepa. Were you at least looking at eScore at all, or was it solely rank?
Nothing. I didn't use Scout IQ. I didn't use a Bluetooth scanner. Literally everything was done using my phone, scanning every single book. Never in my life have I ever owned a Bluetooth scanner that I attached to my phone or anything, because I wasn't sure which way. I always knew that I wanted to scale books up enough to do something different. I never wanted to have a book business, or I never wanted to have this, I never said to myself, I'm going to have a warehouse where I can have 30 Gaylords be delivered and all this other stuff, and I'm going to sift through books all day. No, to me, that was just like manual labor. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather think a little bit smarter, and I enjoyed going out to different big box retail stores, which really helped me gravitate towards retail arbitrage. It was fun to be out. It was fun to come across different people, sometimes different resellers, always seeing different products. You know, you never got bored ordering the same thing. Like if you do OA all the time, like I wasn't thinking about scaling up and ordering 1,000 of this item. I was thinking, oh, I can't wait to go to the store and see what I could find. You know what I mean? Like it was just like the art of surprise, I guess.
Yeah. It's like kind of like a treasure hunt. It's a thrill of,
exactly
finding that treasure. Another part of your story you've got to talk about is how you would, have like the 2 phones and do, I think you said Uber Eats and DoorDash. Like that's pure hustle.
Still got them to this day. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, I mean, I would just, I've always had I had an iPhone, and then when I made the switch over to Samsung back when they had I think it was the Samsung Note 9, or maybe it was the Note 8, I can't remember. But when I got that, I was kind of disappointed in that Samsung model, and I wish I didn't trade in my iPhone. And I started driving with it, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, if I'm making this much money with Uber Eats, which was probably about $1,000 a week, because I was literally driving though from 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night, and I was literally driving 7 days a week. I never missed my kid's birthday, and I never missed my wife's birthday or my mom and dad's birthday. But like cousins, my wife is part of this big Greek family, so she has like 10 cousins, and those cousins have like 3 kids each. So there's always like a birthday party or some kind of fest, and I just wouldn't go. And people would always ask about me, and then they're questioning her, and I'd be out driving trying to make money. And, they started thinking, they're like, are you guys all right? You guys in trouble? Like, do you need money? Like, what's going on? And she's like, no, he uses his money. He gets paid from the bank, and he uses this money to support his business. And people started asking questions like, why is he doing that? Why is he doing this? Why isn't he here? Blah, blah, blah. And, people need, they don't really understand it first. If they don't, 4 years later, almost 5 years later, they still don't understand. they still ask my wife, they're like, what does Richie do again? It's like, they'll never understand.
What do you tell people your businesses when they ask to like try to explain it to them?
Yeah, so a lot of times I just say e-commerce.
Yeah.
If they like, for instance, my tax guy, I would dig deeper. I do e-commerce. I'm on YouTube, and then he starts asking questions about YouTube. And if I start saying YouTube, number one, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm an influencer online. Like I always default to e-commerce, just because it's just easy to explain. Even though YouTube is a huge part of my business. The main bread and butter there is definitely the e-commerce.
Yeah, it's always hard to like get people to understand what the business is. I've gravitated towards just saying e-commerce, and then like if they pry further, then I'll try and explain it more. Got a question here from Cisco. He says, Richie, you've obviously grown a ton since you started. I recall you saying that you don't use VAs in your business. Has that changed?
Yeah, great question. Great question, Cisco. And what's up, by the way? I've considered using VAs because this is probably the first year in a long time that I've had to hustle almost double than previous years as far as the RA game goes. I do a little bit of OA, and I still have my 2 wholesale accounts that I work with. My living situation right now is in a townhome in a gated community, and you can't have 18-wheelers in this place. Like the biggest truck that can fit here is like one of those big jumbo FedExes, or maybe like a furniture truck or something like that. But when I had a house back in Massachusetts, I was getting a lot of OA and warehouse wholesale stuff delivered via freight on an 18-wheeler. So I know, Logan, I've talked to you about VAs and stuff like that. I've considered it. I am just, and this is a problem I had in the bank, even as a manager of the bank, I have a problem delegating. And it seems like every time I try to delegate a task, and this is real, this is coming from the heart, this is real. Every time I try to delegate a task, not once, not twice, but every time it's gone wrong. And I say to myself, I wish I did it myself. So it's not that I wouldn't want to give VAs a try. I think if I was more in tune with doing a crap ton of OA, then I would probably have to consider VAs at some point, because why not have a VA source all the products and you just decide what you want to buy. But a big part of my business is RA, and because of the big part of the business is RA, that's what kind of funnels into YouTube. So To answer your simple question, I mean, I've thought about IRAs, and I probably will have no choice but to consider it down the line, because eventually I'm going to want to scale OA. And I think the only way to do that is to get as many hands on deck as possible and just manage it on a day-to-day basis, instead of having that attitude that, oh, you know what, I'm going to hire you, I know you're going to screw up. Like, instead of just having that attitude, just kind of like, here, take this and deal with it,
Yeah. Cisco also just asked, having a VA to help with content. Have you ever considered hiring an editor?
I want to hire an editor. That's probably it's probably at some point that will be the first person I do hire. I've come across with a bunch of ideas. I release a video daily, every single day. I think that would even be a lot, even to have an editor come along and do it. You know what I mean? I thought about maybe hiring an editor to do like 1 or 2 videos and like just kind of spacing those out throughout the week. But other than that,
Yeah, I would recommend that you get an editor or start to build out a VA team at some point. Because I feel like, I mean, you can speak into this more specifically for what your goals are, but like a lot of people get into this business and entrepreneurship in general to create a life of freedom, and then we end up becoming slaves to our own businesses. So being able to learn to be okay with outsourcing, working on that and being able to delegate, I think that's going to be helpful. I have an editor for my YouTube channel, and I just post a couple of videos a week. I think he's actually here in the chat. Shout out Lester. He does really great work. Going back to the OA, so a lot of people will start with RA, and then, they kind of hit a limit and they see the OA as the way that they need to go to scale. So my question to you is, at what point do you want to do that? Why haven't you done it yet? And then how have you been able to scale RA for people who just want to do that?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. Great question, by the way. I'm fortunate to be in an area in Florida where it is so saturated with big box stores. Literally within a 30-minute drive, you could literally drive past 4 Walmart supercenters. Now, Walmart's not doing that good right now. They're on this kind of markdown freeze. So like, what do you do, right? So lately I've been going to places like Target, but I've just started sourcing at Target for the past maybe 3 to 5 days, like on a day-to-day basis, and finding full cart every single time. I went to Burlington, found full cart. I went to Marshall's, found full cart. TJ Maxx, full cart. So I think because I'm finding full carts everywhere, there's no reason for me to say RA's dead, RA's not going anywhere, because a big part of my business is filming what I'm doing. If I wasn't filming, I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't filming and YouTube wasn't part of the RA business, I probably would be like this online arbitrage friggin' master, because I'd put so much time and energy into it, because I think it's just great. I think online arbitrage is so crazy that you could find these online deals. But what's going to happen when you can't find online deals and they're only in store only? Like, the RA margin is always going to be greater than anything online, even if it's wholesale or OA. I think the RA margin on a product will be greater.
Yeah,
generally
absolutely.
speaking.
Yeah, margin and ROI.
I mean, I've never thought to myself, I want to scale OA. And somebody said, well, why don't you just like film OA? And I'm like, because nobody wants to see me sit in front of a computer hitting buttons. Like, you know what I mean? They want to know, like, what store can they physically walk into and maybe find this product or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, margin and ROI, I found were both better when I was doing pretty heavy RA. Are you finding a lot of your business is still like finding markdowns and clearance items, or do you have like a set of replenishables that you can buy at full price in store?
There are a few full price items that I can buy in store, but those full price items I'm actually buying online. So that's more OA. As far as RA goes, I mean, it's hard. You know, I was filming a video in Target today, and I was talking about how like, though there's going to be a lot of people, especially this year, within the last 60 days, that are just going to give up. It's really hard. Number one, if you don't have the capital to go to multiple stores, different stores, and you don't have the capital to fund that, it's going to be extremely hard right now, just because right now you don't have places like Walmart marking things down 80, 90%, you know, and they haven't in probably almost 60 days. So it's tough out there for RA. It's really tough out there. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people need to understand that diversification is literally the key to succeeding. Not just like, think not even just big box. Think like Trader Joe's. Think like, you got to think different, like the bagel seasoning, when not everything but the bagel. I think when that seasoning first came out, or it was like hot or whatever, like a 4-pack, I think those were going for like $2.99, and a 4-pack on Amazon was going for like $100, something stupid. It was just like, wow, like it's almost like you feel bad selling it for that price, but you have like 8 other sellers doing it, so you're like, well, if that's the market, then that's the market. But it's hard. It is. RA is hard right now. If anybody was to ask me, what would you start out with right now? I would say either books and online arbitrage, just because RA is that difficult. And if you don't have an abundance of stores, like I'm fortunate to have in my area, like if I was back in Massachusetts, I'd be hurting because there's a Walmart every 30 minutes. But here, there's just so many stores in South Florida. It's just crazy.
Got a question here. What does your time delegation look like as far as reselling versus creating content? I feel like a lot of us who make reselling content have to find a good balance between the two.
Yeah, so I wake up in the morning. I'm usually either finishing a video or I have to start a video. And I kind of work on that for a little bit. And then in my mind, I'm just mentally planning my day as I'm working. And then usually like before lunch, I'll go out and I'll start doing RA. And that's just right now because there isn't a big rush to get to, 8 Walmarts today. So I don't have to start at 7 a.m. because there's nothing to like rush for right now, And then usually I'm up till like 1 or 2 in the morning. I probably get about 5 hours of sleep. I'm usually sleeping for about 5 to 6 hours. So at the end of my day, I'll come home. And then if I'm like today, I recorded content. Tonight, I'll be editing at least one video. And I'll try to do 2 videos. And I'll probably be up till about 1, maybe 2. But I'm going to try to keep it at 1 today. And I'll just be editing videos, So the morning I'm editing and the night I'm editing and everything in between. I'm either packing shipments, I'm outsourcing, or I'm doing something that has to do with Amazon or reselling, or I'm out creating content, or I'm trying to write down ideas. That's really the middle of my day. And that's just been like the past 2 months. Normally, for the past 4 years, I'm up at 5 a.m., I'm out the door at 6, and I'm doing 8 stores a day, 5 days a week, and then I'm editing at night, and then I'm packing shipments on the weekends. That was like really my routine. But when things slow down, you kind of got to like pivot and adjust, and so that's what I was doing before, and that's what I'm doing now.
I respect your hustle, man. I don't know how you do it all. Have you
I
always
don't know how I do it sometimes either. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you always been a hustleaholic?
Honestly, I really have. I mean, I used to sell on YouTube, Yahoo auctions. Like when Pokemon first came out, I was selling Pokemon cards on Yahoo auctions. This was even before eBay. I partnered with this guy. I don't know. It's probably discriminating. I'm not discriminating, incriminating against me. But like, I used to work for Blockbuster Video, and another guy, a manager, used to work at another Blockbuster Video. And every time we'd get the new video games, he'd stick some aside, and we'd sell those video games to the game shop down the road before we put Blockbuster stickers on the discs. So I've always been a hustler.
Nice, man. I have a lot of respect for you.
Appreciate you, man. And I know you've always been. I remember when you would first come on the lives, you come in the chat and you would ask questions about starting in YouTube and like, what do I think and all that stuff. So you've been around for a while. So thank you.
Rodrigo says, how can we master brickseek? Do you have any tricks for scouting items?
You can't master brickseek. Brickseek is horrible. It's like a stubborn ex-girlfriend you just want to get rid of, but you just keep taking it back because like you'll have a bad day or 2 with brickseek and you're not finding any of the leads that brickseek is providing because there's some kind of disconnect. I really can't even speak on brickseek. I literally haven't used brickseek probably in almost 2 months. Like I was glancing at it just the other day. And I was just like, this is just all shit. It's just all crap. And it's not all brickseek's fault. When I say I can't stand brickseek, I'm not saying it because I think it's 100% brickseek's fault, because honestly, I think it's more Walmart's fault than brickseek's fault. Because when I would go into Lowe's, I would find the deals a lot of the times, no problem. But it is brickseek's fault because I was explaining that when you're looking on landing pages like what's popular or today's markdowns, or if you're looking at if you have the extreme and you're looking by store and you're looking at the products on the landing page of that store and it says in stock, if you don't actually click on the item, then you're not going to see the true stock. So like if you're looking at, oh, they have this item in that store, and then 3 down you have, oh, they have this item in that store, but you're not clicking on each individual item, waiting 20 minutes for the page to load, and then like looking at the actual item, then it's not a true stock count. So it's like, I don't have time to wait 20-minute load times on brickseek. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Full disclaimer: I still have a brickseek membership, but because when it works, it works. You know what I mean? But when it doesn't work, it sucks. So it's like just that love-hate relationship. But it's just you just if you go in with lower expectations, you'll be all right. Don't use brickseek with high expectations because you'll be disappointed quite a few times.
Yeah. When I was heavy RA, I definitely had that love-hate relationship with brickseek. What I found though was like, it's going to be pretty inaccurate for Walmart, but there's never a month where it doesn't pay for itself 10 times over, because it's going to be wrong a lot of the times, but you're going to find some items that'll really hit that you would not have found without brickseek. And I think the Extreme is like $30 a month. Like you find one good product.
30 or 35. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
If you got the patience for it, I think it's worth it. I don't have a membership anymore now just because I haven't done RA in so long. Let's talk a little bit more about content creation. Do you have any advice for people looking to get started creating content for reselling journey or any kind of niche that they have?
Yeah, so that's actually probably one of the number one questions that I get. Like, what advice can I give to somebody that's looking to get into creating content? And it's 2 things. One, you got to be yourself at all times. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Just be yourself, and don't worry about what people are going to think of you. Just be yourself. And then 2, don't sit all day, all week, or just start worrying about what you're going to create. Just follow yourself around with the camera. Even if you practice, like even if you're just going to go out and source, we all have this in our pocket. You know what I mean? There's no, and this shoots a lot better than a lot of the cameras that you can take out there. I film all my videos on my phone, every single one of them when I'm outsourcing. Like right now I'm on my standalone camera with my ring light inside, but I never take that outside. I'm always using either this or this. Why? Because they can record in 4K, 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. So, if you're struggling to find content, or you want to be a content creator, or you want to like get involved with YouTube, my best advice is to go into a crowded area, like a Target or a Walmart on a Sunday afternoon, and just walk through people holding your phone like this, not looking at anybody else but your phone, and just record yourself as if you were going to upload that, and just walk through the store just like this, walk by people staring at you, just do it and just see how it feels, and that's really going to warm you up, because I'll tell you, when I first started, I never walked by people. I was always like waiting until I went down an aisle where there was nobody, and then I would hold it up and record. And if I saw somebody, I would stop and I would wait. Now I'm like recording, I'm walking by people, I'm turning the camera, I'm like looking at them, I'm filming them. Like if they give me shit, like I don't even care. Like it doesn't matter to me, because I've surpassed that level of caring. So those are the 2 things you have to do before you can even create a single piece. Number 1, you got to be comfortable, be yourself, and just practice. You know what I mean? Just document what you're already doing. Don't worry about creating. You can always create later. Just document what you're doing and make sure you're yourself doing it.
Yeah, I think Gary Vee said document, don't create. So like don't focus on, creating content, but rather just kind of document your journey. And then you touched on like whenever I used to record RA videos, I would get like nervous when people were walking around, and I'm sure some other people are going to be feeling that way too. But whenever I first started scanning products in stores, it felt weird. So everything's going to feel weird the first time you do it if people are around, but you got to just be willing to, do it anyway and get over it. The Greatest Showman is one of my favorite movies, and in the movie, P.T. Barnum says, "Comfort is the enemy of progress."
So true. So true. And also you have to expect too is when you said when you would scan things, you kind of like felt uncomfortable scanning a lot of things. As you're scanning things, this is something that happens too. As you're scanning things in the store, you have to understand that's a magnet for people to be nosy and to try to like come near you and see what you're doing. And it almost like attracts people. But if you're just tuning them out, I think Reezy Resell said something when he was scanning books in the library. He said he would put like AirPods in and he would just start scanning. So he would just have his music playing, and that way nobody A came up to him and started talking to him. He could just focus. But B, I think it kind of put him in this state where it helped him not care about his surroundings, and he was just kind of laser focused on what he was doing. So that's not a bad idea to do either.
Yeah, that's a good tip. What are some of your goals for your business this year?
Whew, man, it's such a crazy world to be in today. I never knew what direction I was ever going to go in, and to this day, I still say that Amazon's not going to be my only game. It's not going to be like my end game. I'd love to open up a comic and card collectible store. It's always been a dream of mine to have a brick and mortar store, have an online presence, and kind of like almost run Amazon out of the back of that. But I've never wanted to have like a huge, 20,000 square warehouse and like have this big, Amazon lid or Watch Me Amazon style business. Like I never wanted that. For me, that was just like, all right, like I could do that, but I never really wanted that. I kind of want something a little bit more simpler. I like reselling and I really like content creating. I've started 4 or 5 YouTube channels. One monetized, which is Richie Hustles. The second one, which is Hustleaholics, which is going to be podcast style. Just waiting for that to become monetized eligible because I want to fly people in once I get a studio, all this other crap. And then I have other channels like the Comic Complex. I have a gaming channel. These are all things I'm not even sure one man has time for in a single day to even accomplish, what I want to accomplish. But, in the end, yeah, right, exactly. But that's why like I said, I'd love to have this. Like, I envision myself running this nice mid-size comic and collectible store with like a cafe in there. You can come relax. Have a second floor, which is like a gaming floor. I always think about what I want to do in the end, and who knows if it'll ever happen. I want it to happen. I try to put in the universe that it's going to happen. And if Amazon takes me a different direction, it does. But I didn't even plan to get this far. I never thought ever that I was going to be able to quit my job because it seemed so hard to scale. And with such limited time working at that job, I only had enough hours at night and on the weekend because I was driving too. So I was like stopping on a break and I was going into TJ Maxx and then I'd go back to driving for DoorDash and stuff. And I didn't think I'd have enough time. But what really helped me scale the business was everything that happened in 2020. I was sent home to work from home, and I kind of took that system of using that time at home I said, okay, well, this is it. This is my time. I really need to scale the business. This is my time. If I'm going to quit, I need to figure out how to scale the business because now I'm going to be home every day. I would miss work all the time, all that shit. I would just I'd rather work in my garage than get on this call and I'd be absent. They'd be yelling at me. I'm just like, well, whatever, whatever. I had a $3,000 day at the time. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, keep yelling, And then there came a point where my bank actually just said, just stay home on emergency pay. And literally I had about 6 to 8 months where I didn't have to do anything for the bank.
Wow.
And that's when, at that point, when I didn't even have to sit on the computer anymore, that's when I took the business and went, vroom. You know what I mean? I was just like, this is it. This is the chance. This is the chance. So, sometimes it's hard. Not a lot of people get that chance where you can get that time back to focus on what you want to do. But, if you're doing it part-time, you just know you have to work even harder. You gotta grind. If you want it, you'll get it. I support a family of 4. So if I can do it, you can do it without sounding too much Saturday morning.
Yeah. Do you have any specific advice for someone who's looking to quit their job, go full-time Amazon, or like what led you to that decision of knowing like I'm at a point now where I can do that? And what would you tell someone looking to do that same thing?
Yeah. So I was always at a point. I quit August 3rd of last year. That was my official quit the job. Like I set ties, got my letter, all that stuff. Quit ties there. But I probably could have quit a year earlier than that. I kind of use the 2 to 3 times what you're taking home model. Not even 2 times, probably more like 3 times what you're making. If you make 1,000 every week or every 2 weeks, then you want to make sure that Amazon's bringing you in at least 3 times that. people get lost in, oh, well, I'm making 1,000 with Amazon. That's going to replace my 1,000 a week, but not so fast, because what are you going to do? You're going to live off that 1,000. What are you going to buy a product with? You know what I mean? How are you going to keep building the business? So I waited until I made at least 3 times what I was making at the bank. And the reason why I didn't quit earlier was because I kept harping on healthcare and benefits. And I'm like, man, like, it's not just me. You know, my wife is a stay-at-home mom. I've got 2 little girls now. I have to make sure everybody has health insurance and dental and all this other stuff. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? I'm looking online and I'm getting all these quotes saying that, you know, health cost is going to cost me $2,000, $3,000 to replace what I have at the bank. And if I get like a super high deductible, what happens if somebody gets sick enough and I got to come out of pocket for it? Like, all these things that are going through your head, especially if you've got kids or if you have somebody at home that you have to take care of, not just yourself. You know, you start getting all these emotional thoughts, and it can almost deter you away from doing what you want to do. But the way I got over it was I phoned a couple of friends, aka an Instagram direct message, a bunch of people that had their own business. And I would ask them, I would say, hey, when did you know it was the right time to quit? What did you use for benefits? How did you, like, I wasn't shy about it. Like, I asked people, like, me and Larry, Watch Me Amazon, we talk quite frequently. You know what I mean? I think I might have even asked Eric over at Amazon Lit. I've asked Reezy what he does for health insurance. And, you know, you get all these different answers. But I would implore anybody, if you're worrying about health benefits, because for me, that was the biggest worry, the best thing you can do, swear to God, what helped me is when I came down to Florida, my tax guy referred me to a healthcare broker or whatever it is, a healthcare provider that would like search and figure out what was best for me. And they gave me a list of options. And they said, hey, for your business, what you're running, with your family, with your circumstances, here's a list of options. And they let you look through the options that they've picked for you. The best thing that ever happened to me, because, and I'm not paying $2,000 or $3,000, you know, I'm paying lower than that. I'm paying half of what I thought, and I get healthcare, I get dental, I get vision, and all 4 of us are covered. And my copay is only like $25. So don't let that scare you at all, you know. But I would have quit my job a lot sooner if I wasn't so nervous about taking care of my family.
We got some people saying here this should have been a morning interview. Richie has us pumped up to go out and source right now.
I mean, I'm always pumped. I always try to run on high energy.
So what is your kind of why behind this business? You know, is it freedom? Are you trying to become a millionaire? What's your main goal?
At first, when I first started, my main thing was I wanted to get out of my current job, my current situation. I wanted to be able to make a decent wage to take care of myself and take care of my family. I didn't start YouTube until maybe 10 months down the road. So I started my business in April of 2018. And then I think it was longer than that. I think it was like over a year. I think I started YouTube in November of 2019. So maybe a year and a half. I started YouTube because, I'm sorry, structure your question again, because I was going somewhere with that.
Just what's your why behind this business? You know, why?
Yeah, so the why. Yeah, originally it was just to make a decent wage and support me and my family without having to deal with the commute, you know, all that stuff. So I guess, you know, financial freedom per se, but have freedom to do things with my family. And, you know, I never thought I'd be able to just wake up in the morning and just be like, I could do whatever the F I want today. If I don't want to work, I don't have to. You know, everything that's good is my fault. Everything that's bad is my fault. It's just all on me. But that can also be like an emotional roller coaster too. That's a whole other topic. So the why originally was financial freedom. It was definitely financial freedom. I mean, I never said to myself ever, oh, I'm going to get rich one day. Like, I think those are the kind of the wrong reasons. And I think people who are just money chasers like that, I think they get wrapped up in that and they just fall off really hard. And I was just saying to a couple of resellers, to Romer, you were there in Miami, and I was saying to a bunch of them, I was like, I feel like there's a lot of resellers that we don't see anymore. Like, I could literally think of like 5 of them. I just don't see like anymore. And that's not to say maybe they're just not on social media, but it just kind of fell off. And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy. And I think Romer was like, well, wait till you see in the next 5 years. You're going to see even more people fall off. But you're also going to see a lot of people come on. So I think money chasing is the wrong way. You don't want to get into this business saying, "Oh, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to get a millionaire," because you'll be waiting a long time. Because you're going to start. It's going to start clouding your judgment, and you're going to lose focus. You're just going to lose focus.
Yeah. What's some advice you have to someone who's just getting started?
Don't get frustrated with everything you're gated in. Don't worry about what you can't sell. Worry about what you can sell. And I know it's so cliche for every reseller. We always say start with books, right? Nobody wants to start with books because there's no glamour in books, right? Like this, it's like even if you want to create content in books, the way it's boring content when you're sourcing books. But if you're you can make it entertaining with books. So I always say start with books because I think that's the best way to deal with a bulk item that's not high capital, that's pretty high profit if you source the right way. You can get it from multiple locations, thrift shops, libraries, retail stores. If you have an Ollie's near you, even Ollie's has better prices than some of the thrift stores. I just think books because you can deal with such a bulk level, and I nobody knows what causes people to get like auto ungated, but I'm a firm believer that I was selling thousands of dollars of books a week, and I'm sure that velocity had helped me, show Amazon, hey, okay, this guy got staying power, he's selling all this stuff, low complaints, good reviews, all this stuff. So you know what? Okay, he can sell this. Like I got auto ungated in almost everything I've done, except for maybe about a half a dozen of mix between categories and brands that I had to kind of do either invoices or whatever, but. Awesome. I would say books, man, and literally so many people worry about what they cannot sell instead of worrying what you can sell. Like you can't tell me that you don't go into a Walmart and if I'm like, yo, scan everything in Walmart just to see what you can sell. There's no way you can even complete that in a single day. So if you went into Walmart one day on Monday, go scan maybe the most of the toy aisle. Then maybe day 2, you scan a lot of like appliances and you just auto engage and you try to request approval and all this stuff like every single day. Maybe the next day you go in a grocery. I used to sit down when I would watch TV and I would just have my phone and I would go to I would go to add product and I would go to top products and I would go to every single category every single night and I would request approval from everything that I was gated in. All the time, every night. Like if I would try Hasbro every day for like 10 days straight, depending on sales, and I would just keep going. Like I was crazy. It was nuts, and that's kind of like the mentality you have to have at first. You almost have to be like a crazy person. You feel like you're doing things on such repetition. You feel nuts. You're like, oh man, I already requested Hasbro 12 times, but on the 120th time you do it because of your sales, the way they've been happening. You'll get auto ungated if you don't get an invoice. So it's like it's just a constant repetition. I talk a lot, so sorry.
Richie, that sounds like a lot of work, though. I thought this was a get rich overnight scheme.
Yeah, right. I think it's funny you say that because I'll keep this part short. But a lot of people say to me, "Oh, it's easy to show all the good, all the good, all the good, all the good, all the full carts and this and that." You're telling me you'd never walk out with nothing? Of course, there are stores. There are more stores I walk out with nothing than when I do find something. But if I uploaded every single disappointing store, you would all be disappointed and get so unmotivated. You'd be like, yo, there's nothing out there. But like, that's just like, so I have to show you what's there. But that's why we do lives. That's why I introduce like going into Walmart, going into Target live, because that's the true test. Like right there. All right, I'm here live. Let's go in and see what we can find. We find full cart, great. If we find 3 items, great. If we find nothing, it happens. It's one store, one time, 1 hour, and that's what we do. So, there is a lot of disappointment, and you have to prepare yourself for that. Not everything is you walk out with 0 a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up here. We got a few final questions, and if anyone else has any more questions for Richie, be sure to drop those. But let's get caught up here. So there was a question about how you do self-checkout at Walmart. So are you not worried about those taxes, or have you found a way to do tax-exempt at self-checkout?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to do tax-exempt at self-checkout. A lot of times you can take your receipt to, at least in Florida, you can. I've talked to people in North Carolina that said they won't do this. But I would take my receipt and self checkout, and I would go up to customer service. But after I've seen some of the customer service lines here in South Florida, I don't even do it anymore to get my tax money back. So I just get it back on the back end with my tax guy. I went over this on one of the lives. There's like kind of like a caveat to it. Like you can either get your tax at tax exempt at the time of purchase, and then your cost of goods is going to be lower, right? So your taxable income is going to be higher. But if you're getting taxed all the time, you're paying that tax up front. When you're getting that tax back, you're going to have a higher cost of goods write-off, which is going to lower your taxable income. Not tax advice. I know CPA. This is just math. And so if you're looking to do things like, at least this is how it was explained to me. If you're looking to do things like buy a house or have something where they're going to require your tax returns, and you need a higher taxable income rate to show that, hey, you're making more money than use tax exempt at the time of the register. But if you don't, and it doesn't matter, and you're not planning to get any big purchases soon, you're going to get it back on the back end with your cost of goods when you go to do it. And definitely get a tax guy. Definitely get a tax guy. If you're doing over 100,000 in sales, get a tax guy.
Definitely. Victor says, "Yo, Richie started selling on Amazon because of your videos. About to hit 100K. Congrats, Victor. Almost 1 year in. Had my best RA trip of all time today. Congrats."
Yes.
I think we should get some Dennas and fire emojis in the chat for Victor.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, Victor. Congrats. That's pretty dope. That's pretty amazing.
Checkmate Flip said maybe speed of checkout. Yeah, if you're able to do that self-checkout, even if you have to pay those taxes, it is a lot faster. I've definitely done that before. Yeah,
definitely speed of checkout. And honestly, if there are any Floridians on this right now, you know how long the lines are. And here in Florida, the lines are, I've never seen lines like I've seen in South Florida in Walmart. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Richie, where can everybody find you on socials?
Yeah, so I'm at Richie Hustles on everything. I'm at Richie Hustles on IG, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere.
Awesome. And you still do the Hustle Hangout Friday nights?
Yep, Hustle Hangout on Friday nights, and then Sunday nights we go live in Walmart usually, but we've been going to Target because Walmart hasn't marked anything down yet. They're kind of on a freeze or a block. Once they start marking things down and things become profitable again, we'll be going back into Walmart. Plus, we'll be doing Target on Saturdays. And then if you ever want to get yourself full card gang, you can go to hustleholics.com. Check out some merch over there. You can check that out as well.
Are you still doing the Hustleholics Premium where you like post the leads and stuff?
Yeah, my truck is full, my garage is full. There's a lot of SKUs from Target that's going to be going up there. Probably tomorrow or the next day. Nothing from Walmart because I really hasn't been sourcing from Walmart, but Target, 70% off a lot of items.
Awesome. All right, well, Richie, thank you for your time tonight. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll have some more interviews next week, so we'll see you all then. See ya.
Appreciate you guys.